Hey everyone, Kevin P. McAuliffe here for Boris Effects, and I'm very excited to talk about the newest release of Boris Sapphire. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how we can take this shot and we can really take it to the next level by getting in and adding a very subtle effect to one of the ornaments and adding an overall vignette shot to really tailor it the way that we want. And we're going to give ourselves a ton of flexibility with this look by building it in the S Effect or Builder tool so that we can then get in and customize and use only the parameters that we want to adjust. Now, before we get rolling, I want to answer an important question. Why Builder? Why the S Effect effect? Well, because to be honest, I hate stacking effects inside of Media Composer because there's just so many parameters and it can become very cumbersome attempting to get the stacking order just the way that I want. The Builder tool streamlines this entire process and gives me or other editors only access to the parameters that I want them to have access to. Okay, let's get rolling with this. The first thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to isolate this ornament down towards the bottom of the screen so that the glint is only applied to that. So let's do that. What we're going to do is over in the effects palette, we're going to type in S_glint. Now, to be honest, it really doesn't matter what effect that you're going to use to create this matte that we're going to use inside of the S Effect or the Builder tool. Now, from now on, I'm not going to refer to it as S Effect. I'm just going to call it the Builder tool. Let's just take the same effect that we're going to be working with, the S-glint rainbow effect. I'm going to take that effect and drag it and drop it. Now, once I drop it, you'll see that the glint is applied to everything that's bright in the shot. And this, in many cases, is where editors say, well, this really, this effect isn't really, the type of effect that I want to work with. I'm just going to choose something else. But trust me, if you get it and you spend the time and you put the work in, you can create fantastic results from something that might not seem like what you want. Let me show you what I mean. What we're now going to do with this element is we're going to use Mocha just to create a matte around this ornament. We're actually not going to use the effect at all, just the matte information. I'm going to come over and I'm going to edit Mocha. Once Mocha opens, I'm going to take the Bezier tool. I'm just going to zoom back just a little bit and reposition the window so that I can draw a circular matte right around this ornament, just like that. Now, what's important to keep in mind about Mocha is that many people think that it has to be used for motion tracking or it has to be used for roto. If you have a shot like this where your element sits right dead on the screen, you can use Mocha. Why not? It's a tool that you have at your disposal, so you may as well get the most out of it. What I'm now going to do is just quit out of Mocha and say save. Once I do that, you'll now see that the effect has been isolated to just this element here. Now, we could keep going and start stacking effects, but I don't want to do that, and you'll see why in just a second. Let's get in now and let's show the matte that we have created. I'm going to do that by simply saying show Mocha only. You'll notice that it's a very hard edge matte that we can smooth by simply coming up and blurring Mocha. Once we have our matte the way that we want, what we're now going to do is to take the same shot and we're going to paste it onto video track number 2, and I'm simply going to remove that effect. Let's now get in and let's now work with S Effect. Inside the effects palette, we're just going to type in S Effect. We'll take the S Effect and we'll drag it and drop it down onto our shot. Now, before we get into the Builder tool, we want to make sure that it has access to that matte information from the layer below. We're going to navigate over to the Mask dropdown and we're going to simply select Mask one track below. Now, as soon as I select that, nothing will happen until we get into the Builder tool and I show you how this works. So let's edit the effect. Once the Builder tool opens, you'll see that we have a few nodes at our disposal: the mask, the source and result, and the background nodes. Now, the only two nodes that you will be using, no matter what your workflow, is the source and the result. In our case, I'm going to be utilizing masking information as well, but we'll get to that in just a second. Let's come and let's add our glint effect. Inside the search window, I'm going to type in glint. You'll notice I didn't have to type S_glint because everything inside the Builder tool goes by just the standard effect name. I'm going to take the glint rainbow effect and I'm going to insert it in between the source and the result node. As soon as I do, you'll now see that we have a shot that looks pretty much the same as what we had before. But now I want to get in and utilize that masking information. If you take a look at the glint rainbow node, you'll see that I have two inputs, one on each side, one called background and the other called mask. I can take the mask information that we have from video track number 1, and I can take this node and I can insert it into the mask input, and you'll now see that what's happened when I select the glint rainbow node is that that glint has only been applied to where that mask is. Now let's get in and let's add our vignette. This is where stacking order becomes very important. We could add the vignette before the glint, or we could add it afterwards. Since I want it to actually take place a little bit over top of that glint, we're going to add it afterwards. What I'm going to do is type in vignette. There's our stylized vignette effect, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to add it after glint rainbow. You'll notice in this case, this node does not have mask or background inputs. You're just able to add it into your chain between the source and the result. Now, many people think that we might be done and ready to say okay and head back to Media Composer, but I'm creating a very specific look that I don't want editors and potentially even myself messing around with. What I want to do is to give other editors working with this effect only specific parameters that they can adjust. With glint rainbow selected, I'm going to navigate over to the selection parameters window and I'm going to deselect everything except brightness. What I'm going to do with vignette is I'm going to deselect everything except radius. With those two selected, what I'm going to do is simply say OK, and when we head back to Media Composer, you'll see not only is the effect applied, but if you take a look over here inside the effect editor, you'll see that I only have access to two parameters. For glint rainbow, it's the brightness, and for the vignette, it's the radius. Now editors only have access to those two parameters to make adjustments to, unless they head into S Effect to give themselves more options. Now at this point I could save this lookout as a preset, but I think I want to talk about something else before I wrap things up that's very cool inside of the preset browser. So let's give the screen a spin, and I'm going to take that S effect and I'm going to take it and drag it and drop it down onto our shot. Once it's there, we're going to load the preset browser. Once the preset browser appears, we not only have access to standard preset looks that you're familiar with, but we also have access to builder presets that once you choose one and you apply it by simply double clicking on it, you can then simply navigate back up to the edit option for the S effect, and once the builder tool opens, you'll see exactly the effects that were used to create this very cool preset. And if you want to find more videos like this one to help take your compositing and visual effects work to the next level, you can check them out at borisfx.com.